What is up, guys? Austin here for this month's top 5 video, and since the new science fiction film Riddick came out, I pretty much just gave it away. Me, Joe, and Alex came here today to give you guys our top 5 science fiction films, of course, some honorable mentions, and of course, the shit stains. You can't go wrong with the shit stains.
I have 2 honorable mentions today.
Okay.
And they're kind of similar when you look at them. My first one is Cloverfield.
Really? Cloverfield?
Oh, the monster.
Yeah,
that was pretty good.
New York City is under attack. All the New York monuments get blown to smithereens. The Brooklyn Bridge goes down.
Yeah.
The Empire State Building goes down. The head of the Empire State Building is in the streets.
The Statue of Liberty.
Statue of Liberty, yeah. The head of the Statue of Liberty is in the streets. I remember this one scene vividly where the army was going across the street shooting their guns.
Oh,
and they were
and then the huge monster.
Run! What are you doing?
I remember that.
Run!
That was a great science fiction, but a great horror film, too.
Absolutely, it was a great horror movie.
It was like a roller coaster.
And the monster at the end.
Jesus.
That thing was a scary motherfucker. So that's my number 1. And my number 2 is kind of similar, but it's the same found footage. It's Chronicle.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
you saw that?
Wow.
Yeah, Chronicle.
Chronicle, that was one of our favorite films of last year.
Our first 5 out of 5 last year.
Yeah, the one with superpowers, that one?
Yeah, where they go into the cave and they find this mysterious crystal thing.
I never thought about that one.
And one of them turned out to be a big asshole to be the villain.
Apex Predator.
Yeah.
Apex Predator. Yeah, I had a fun time with this movie. It's definitely a great science fiction movie.
Mm-hmm.
Not good enough to make the top 5, but still awesome.
Alright, well, I have 2.
Oh, okay.
I don't do honorable mentions mostly, but these are so good I have to bring them up. And plus, it's a homage to my friend Steve because this is his favorite movie of all time.
Oh, God.
It's Blade Runner.
Oh!
It's like, yeah, I mean, classic setting. I mean, it was like, the whole setting of the whole movie. I mean, the way it looks, the depressing,
That's Steve's favorite film of all
depressing
time?
lighting. What?
That's Steve's favorite film of all time?
Yeah,
Wow.
he's a big fan of Blade Runner because he loves Harrison Ford.
Oh, that
of course.
explains everything.
But, and plus it's based on one of his favorite novels. And the whole basis of it is they're trying to find out if people are really humans or they're replicants.
Yeah.
And what's it like to live with a replicant, fall in love with a replicant, and it's got the other guy that basically lives in his apartment, and then all of a sudden that crazy girl who's not depicted in the movie as a not in the movie, but in the novel as a freak. But then again, it's Blade Runner, and then the whole sequence between him and the villain was just a little. It was weird, but it was still pretty cool. But it was everything sci-fi that you can imagine.
Exactly.
A futuristic setting that was the dark, depressing, and everything. And you know, that's what good sci-fi films do. They always have like some type of commentary about what the future is going to be like. And I'll explain that in one of the movies in my top 5. My second honorable mention is a classic. Some of you, or I shouldn't say some of you, most of you should know what this movie is. It's a must-see film. It's a must-know film. It's Back to the Future. The first one. The first one. I mean,
the first one, the best one.
Yes. Marty McFly, classic character.
McFly!
Christopher Lloyd as Doc Brown.
What's his baby?
Great Scott!
An hour? You guys seem so.
2 gigawatts! 21 gigawatts!
What the hell's a gigawatt? Biff?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God. And I know the guy.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen like a perfect time machine film go back to the past and capture everything that looks good in the 50s or whatever like that. So it felt really decent, and it was funny as hell.
And it was in the space
funny and got a lot of conflict. Great sci-fi, but it's not up there with the 5 that I've got.
Hey, I have 3 honorable mentions. My first one, this was my favorite films last year, that's Looper. It was fantastic. I saw it twice. Very. It was a fantastic science fiction film made by Ryan Johnson, who also did a movie called Break, which I find very underrated. Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays as a looper, a person who kills people that come back in time to erase them from history. Then, out of nowhere, one day, his old self comes back to him to die, but he hesitates. Then all of a sudden, this manhunt starts. Basically, I love how everything, like, basically just the production design looks amazing, how they're able to mix future times with present times. The blunderbuss weapon had a very cool design to it. The vehicles, the plot twist with the Rainmaker was like a holy shit. And the first telekinesis scene blew my mind the first time I saw it. If you haven't seen it, see it. My second honorable mention is Aliens, the sequel to Alien, which Don't kill me, I still haven't seen it yet.
Ridley Scott.
Yeah, James Cameron did the sequel, and it was fantastic. I loved it. And then my final honorable mention, this would be my top 5, but the first time I saw it, I found it a little bit slow paced. Your friend said he was going to kill me for this, but Blade Runner. I found it to be a little slow paced. It did turn me off a little bit, but nonetheless, it's a fantastic science fiction film from Ridley Scott. Oh Jesus.
Hi, Steve.
And now to the top 5.
Number 5.
My number 5, a lot of people did not expect this movie to be made. The director put a lot of blood, a lot of sweat, a lot of tears into this movie.
Oh, wow.
And it took over 15 to 20 years to make this movie.
Really?
If you haven't noticed it yet, it's Avatar.
Avatar, really?
Yes. The blue.
Not a bad choice. That's a good start.
The blue people. From beginning to end, I thought this movie was absolutely awesome. You know, the story with the big tree and how that's supposed to be the blue people and their life source and
They're
the tall
Smurfs.
They're tall Smurfs.
Tall Smurfs with the thing
Those
attached
freaking tails attached.
to their ponytail.
Yeah.
Antenna things that
People actually predicted that movie would be a box office failure too.
No, and this but this was
It ended
the
up being
most
the highest grossing.
the most
2.7 billion
the most
worldwide.
successful movie of all time.
2.7 billion
It
worldwide.
surpassed James Cameron's first successful movie of all time by Titanic. This one far surpassed that.
Oh,
This one
yeah.
made $2
It
billion.
was way better as well.
750,000, something like that.
Yeah, it was like 2.7 billion.
2.7 billion.
Yeah.
So if that's not in your top 5, that kind of has to be.
It's
just
not.
for that reason alone.
No, it doesn't.
It's not
Well,
mine.
not really. Well, in my opinion, it kind of has to be.
So let's get to my number 5.
Okay,
I mean,
go
this is already a classic. We're already getting into the classics here.
Oh man!
And it was gonna come out in 1977. People didn't even know what this movie was or what it would entail, or they didn't realize how huge it was going to be. But it's Star Wars.
Oh.
And I'm not gonna say Episode 4: A New Hope because it was
Star
original.
Wars.
It
It's
was
just Star
called
Wars.
Star Wars back in the day, and
Yes.
we
For
were
just Star Wars.
For you Star
Yeah.
Wars purists
It was
out
just pure. It was just like Star Wars, and that was the only name it had. But from the first shot with
Oh
that
my
whole
God,
ship
yeah.
coming in, I mean, you've already got a tone already set. This is basically an empire trying to beat rebels. This is a futuristic war going on. Corruption and power is trying to take over peace and love and all that. You know, the Force is really a religion type deal. Darth Vader, the presence of, this is a villain and this is going to be the greatest villains ever.
A sense of adventure when it comes to Luke Skywalker.
Oh man, from beginning to end. I mean, everybody has at least got a personality, and you can name 3 different traits. Death Star is a menacing bitch.
Yeah.
It can destroy planets with one shot. Special effects back then were very impressive.
Oh
to do.
yeah.
I mean,
everything showed practical sets.
I mean, if you had the VHS version like they did before they had the movie shown, it would actually show you how they did everything.
Yeah.
It's amazing what they were able to do with these little figurines and just shoot everything. It was just amazing to watch. And of course, that magic didn't capture into the 3 movies that came later.
Don't even speak about those prequels.
And then we'll wait until 7, 8, and 9 come out.
Yes,
to see
which
what
they're
happens.
doing practical effects again with, by the way.
Hope so.
And George Lucas is not going to be involved in this
J.J.
project.
Abrams, thank you.
But sci-fi wise, there's just something a little bit better. But we'll get to those.
Yes. By number 5, not only is this an amazing science fiction film, but this is also a good cyberpunk steampunk film. This movie, the first time I saw it, it blew me away. It's one of my favorite films of all time. Again, yes, a 6 out of 5 prime as he does it. This was made by the Wachowskis. I'm talking about The Matrix. This is fantastic. I love how the story starts. Neo, basically a computer hacker, wakes up, doesn't feel something in his world is right. He finds Morpheus, the red or the blue pill. Agent Smith, that menacing motherfucker. That guy is just
Mr. Anderson.
And the very first fight scene from when he fights Mr. Smith, which is my favorite fight scene of all time, and then had to make those sequels. Nonetheless, the Wachowskis started a trilogy with the fantastic first film. However, as they went along, they started to fuck it up as it went along. Nonetheless, it's a great first start to a movie. Keanu Reeves, this might be his best performance other than maybe Bill and Ted's Excellent. The slow motion, which would be parodied in films to come. It's just a fantastic cyberpunk film and a great science fiction film altogether. If you've not seen The Matrix, you must see it. It's a fantastic science fiction film. And that's why it's my number 5.
Number 4.
Okay, my number 4 is a video game movie, believe it or not.
Okay.
What? Oh, I have a feeling I know what it is.
My number 4 is Tron.
I fucking knew it.
Oh, the first one?
Yes.
Okay, I can,
Yes. The first one.
I can live with
What
it.
do you do with Legacy? Seriously.
No. Oh, Legacy.
sorry,
Don't
sorry.
even mention that movie.
No?
No.
You didn't like Legacy?
No.
It was
hated it.
okay.
Jeff Bridges in one of his, I don't know if this is one of his first movies. It was in
I still got Legacy on my brain.
1983 was
Okay.
when the first one came out.
Okay, Joe.
Fuck you, Legacy.
Special effects in this movie were amazing. They used a lot of color.
Oh, yeah, tons.
They used a lot of neon color.
They filmed in a black and white soundstage.
They filmed,
they
yes.
did.
Yeah.
This
Oh.
movie was amazing. The scene with the rings is just
Oh my god.
iconic, to say the very least. And Jeff Bridges did do really good in this movie.
Yes, he did.
It's definitely one of the best, with a capital B, best Disney live-action movies I've ever seen in my entire life.
Okay.
That's why it's my number 4.
Well, my number 4, we're gonna go to a Steven Spielberg movie.
Oh.
And we gotta go to when Steven Spielberg first started directing. There was a time where I just watched it constantly because of just how good it was. It's E.T., the extraterrestrial.
Oh, that was Close Encounters.
Yeah,
Wow.
no, not Close Encounters, but I mean, I just love E.T. I love the part where E.T. gets drunk. He just grabs a beer, he's like, and then then he's,
Oh, and then transfers to Elliot,
and then he channels to Elliot. He just falls out of his seat, he's like, whoa, shit. It's like, I mean, if you ever wanted to do a great alien to human channeling right there, if you
That's
wanted
perfect.
a comedic right there, I mean, that's how you do it. When I first saw E.T. and how he looked, it kind of freaked me out a little bit,
Well, of course, it's a
but that's
fucking alien.
I mean, that's how you're supposed to, I mean, that's what an alien's supposed
It's
to look
truly-
like. I mean, the classic message, be good. Sci-fi, you deal with aliens a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
if you were going to talk about, like, best alien movies, this is going to be, the best ever.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was one of Spielberg's best.
Yeah. My number 4, this is a time travel film made by James Cameron. This is actually his first film. Well, actually, no, it is one of his first. It's a sequel to one of the greatest films ever made. That's Terminator 2, Judgment Day. This film, if you have not seen even Terminator 1 or Terminator 2, you must see it. Sarah Connor gets impregnated from Kyle Reese with John Connor. John Connor grows up to be kind of like a very, very rebellious teenager. Goes off because he hates his foster parents, like with a flaming passion. But then all of a sudden, a new robot comes back, played by Robert Patrick. However, we don't know if he's with the good or the bad side. Arnold Schwarzenegger comes right back, and then the climatic scene when the two of them come towards John. But then everybody says, "Get down," you know he's on the good side. And the effects, those effects of the T-1000. I watched it on Blu-ray months back. My god, those effects hold up to this day. It's still effects I wonder, how in the holy mother of hell did they do that? And one of the best things I loved about that is that each character starts and ends somewhere. John comes from being a rebellious, little douchebag to being a very nice kid. Sarah Connor goes from being a very dangerous thing about the future, then she comes to, side with the Terminator almost. But then they had to make 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Well,
and now they're making a reboot and a number 5. And that's why it's my number 4. If you have not seen Terminator, see it.
okay, my number 3 is Austin's number 5, and that is The Matrix.
Oh.
When we first saw this movie, I was literally blown away.
Yeah.
My jaw was literally, when we first saw the scene where he was dodging the bullets,
my god, yeah.
my jaw was literally on the floor. I had to literally pick it off the floor
Yeah,
and
go
put
to
it
the
back
emergency room.
into my mouth. My eyes were literally like this. I had to just try to close them, but I couldn't. It was just amazing.
Big hospital bill, big medical bills.
Full
Yes,
time,
but-
bitches.
Oh, it was crazy. Yeah, this movie from beginning to end, I absolutely love. Pretty much what Austin just said, that how somebody can be the chosen one.
Yeah.
Neo is the chosen one.
Yeah.
This one is still one of the all-time greatest of the great. It's in IMDb's top 250.
Yes.
So it kind of has to be on there. It has
It's
to be
just
on my
made by
list.
fans.
Well, yeah, absolutely. The fans are the people that purchase the tickets and make them as successful as they are.
Well, my number 3, we're gonna have to go way back in time.
Oh god.
Back to the 1920s.
Wow, that's pretty fucking far back.
One of the very first sci-fi movies to have ever come out. A movie that was, when there can find no copies of. They found a copy of it in South America.
What?
They had to restore it because the footage was so bad, and because a lot of it was burnt out.
Oh.
And there are some footage you can't even keep anymore.
Wow.
So, I mean, nowadays, if you ever want to watch this movie, you have to watch the restored version. And even watching the restored version, you can see several clips that look terrible. But otherwise, fantastic movie. It's Metropolis.
Oh, I've heard about that.
Yes. It is 2026. This movie was made in 1926, and then it got released in 27. So the movie was trying to say, what is Earth going to be like in 100 years from now? This privileged guy, who his father owns the entire city, he's basically the brain of the city. The workers are basically the hands of the city. And, the message of the movie is basically the brain, between the brains and the hands are the heart. He meets this woman who is saying that these children who are the workers of the children are your brothers, so to speak. He decides that he's gonna, he tries to tell his father everything about, do you know how you're treating the workers and everything? And, being the brain, the father doesn't really care. Basically fires his right-hand man, who, the son, Fender, I think, is... I can't remember the character's name is Fender. The way that the movie looked, for something that was done back in the 20s.
Yeah,
the way it looks. Some of it is like you couldn't even believe this was a futuristic setting. It blew my mind because I cannot imagine that you couldn't be doing those type of special effects back then. I was surprised when they did it in The Invisible Man, how they were able to pull that off. Mind-blowing. The soundtrack to this movie is amazing. It's a German movie. So it's something that you would not see in the American Film Institute's list, but not only a classic silent movie, but absolutely perfect in terms of sci-fi.
Wow.
I can imagine guys like Stanley Kubrick, George Lucas, and Spielberg was considered to be like influences for this movie, but. Because this, like I said, first is like the father of sci-fi right here. But it's not really number one because, as great as it is, a lot of footage is missing. Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Okay.
So you can actually watch it. It's on Netflix. That's how I found it.
Wow.
It's on Netflix, so you can actually watch it.
My number 3, this is a film, like every other film on this list, every film on this list is a 6 out of 5. I remember the first time I saw it, I think we saw it on your birthday. This is 2010, by the way.
Birthday?
No, Joe's. It was me, Joe, you, and Vin. We saw this film. It was a crowded theater. First time I saw this film, my mind was blown. I walked out of it saying that was a masterpiece.
I remember this.
And this is a Christopher Nolan film. If you don't know what it is, it's Inception. This is one of my favorite films of all time. Every single thing about this movie blew my mind out of proportions. You have to watch it because you weren't paying attention.
In case you don't know, Alex, when we first saw it, was very confused.
Because he was talking to Ben the entire time. Yeah, just the plot of the film, how it deals with dreams and how the subconscious works, and how you can go deeper into dreams. The acting all around is fantastic. Leonardo DiCaprio, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Tom Hardy, aka Bane, Marion Cotillard,
Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, Cillian Murphy, Ken whatever the hell his name is, Ellen Page. Christopher Nolan is a fantastic director, one of my favorite directors. Everything, how it works, the technical level of everything. And one of my favorite fight scenes is the rotating hallway scene. The first time I saw that, I was almost drooling the first time I saw that. Just how everything was working. Like, I saw the behind the scenes now that they did it. It was remarkable how they did it. The script, it took I think 10 years to write, I think. The kick, the musical cues, every single thing in Hans Zimmer's score. Holy shit, that is one of the most mesmerizing scores I've ever heard, and the cinematography, just everything about this film is I would say it's a masterpiece in my eyes, but for those of you, I know some people who don't like it because they try to make it too complex. I can understand that, but in any other sense, it is still a phenomenal film. It's a phenomenal Christopher Nolan film. If you have not seen it, I would highly recommend it. Just the only thing I had to say, you have to pay attention from the moment it starts, otherwise you're gonna get lost.
Yep.
But otherwise,
perfect example right
now. Which I will show you again. But otherwise, Inception is, in my opinion, it's a masterpiece. It's one of my favorite films of all time. If you have not seen it, see it. And that's why it's my number 3.
Number 2.
Okay, this one might be a little bit of a surprise that this is not my number 1.
Okay.
For the simple fact that this is my favorite movie of all time, and that is Back to the Future.
Oh, okay.
Really? I was expecting this to be number 1.
Nope.
Wow.
This movie is an absolute masterpiece.
Yes.
Masterpiece. Great Scott!
The when this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
So many quotable lines, so many memorable characters. You know,
this is heavy.
This is heavy. Great characters, great direction, great writing, great everything. It's just a shame that didn't win Best Picture. I'm really pissed at Universal Studios that they got rid of the ride.
Yeah.
Well, it was getting old.
Fucking Simpsons ride.
But, you know, Simpsons is the trend now.
Fuck the Simpsons. The ride. The ride. Fuck the ride. Fuck the Simpsons.
I was about to walk off set again.
Like I say, explain!
Simpsons ride. Fuck the ride.
Okay.
Back to the Future all the way. This movie is an absolute masterpiece. It's definitely a 6 out of 5. And it's definitely one of the best movies I've ever seen in my entire life. And hopefully it's one of yours also.
Well, my number 2 is another Star Wars movie. It's Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back.
Wow!
Yes, you gotta put it up there. I mean, if anything, the special effects were even better than in the first one because you know the giant mecha robots.
Yeah.
You know,
oh yeah.
So those, yeah. I mean, that was pretty epic when I first saw it. Meeting Yoda for the first time. I mean, I couldn't imagine them trying to do a alien version.
Oh fuck, we forgot something. The one
Yoda.
film per franchise. I'll give you a pass this once.
I was like, you have to. It's sci-fi.
Yeah.
I mean, with 6 I can understand, but 5 is just out there and over. I mean, you got to meet some regular.
Don't you do it again.
You have some more characters introduced that are so memorable. Everybody's characters from traits and personalities from the episode 4 really evolved in this movie, and it became even better. And of course, the whole Darth Vader reveal that we all know.
Jesus.
I mean, it's got one of the best endings ever to a sci-fi movie.
Probably the best cliffhanger ever.
Yeah, I was like, oh, now I gotta see episode 6 and the lightsaber battle between Luke and Darth Vader. I mean, the whole lightsaber idea. I mean, that's very, very, very sci-fi. That is one of the few definitions. If you were oh, what's a sci-fi? What would a sci-fi weapon look like? A lightsaber is the perfect answer.
I'll smell you a lightsaber.
Everything about that scene was
that battle between Luke and Darth Vader. I mean, you were expecting that to happen in episode 4, but it didn't happen. But episode 5 comes along, and you're like, uh-oh, here we go.
Cut off his hand.
Oh, shit!
Here we go. This is how it's going to end. And no, the cliffhanger comes, and then, we got to wait till episode 6.
Yeah.
So
Which wasn't as good.
Episode 5, great. It's not the best. There's something else that beat it entirely, and it's something that George Lucas found very influential. So.
Alright, my number 2. This film, when I saw it, it just put me in awe. I fucking loved it. I waited for so long to see it. I don't know why, but when I first saw it, I teared up at least 3 times watching it because I thought it was just magnificent to watch. This would be number 1, but because of nostalgia, it's not. This is a true science fiction film that still stays grounded in reality, and this is 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yes.
Stanley Kubrick is one of my favorite filmmakers. He is the filmmaker that when I saw Clockwork Orange, it was the film that made me realize I wanted to be not only a film reviewer, but a film director. This film has inspired so many science fiction films like Metropolis. One of the opening shots of when the ship flies over, I believe that was the shot that inspired the opening shot of Star Wars, the very first one. And now it just starts out with the Dawn of Man, which was a fantastic opening set piece. That match cut, the bonus flies up, and then all of a sudden, boom, it goes right to the ship, which my teacher described as one of the best cuts in film history in general, which I can agree with. The start of it, how we see the alien monolith, to when when they touch it, when they're about to take that picture, you hear that high-pitched sound, you know why it's happening, and then that whole story involving Hal. Oh my god.
Hal!
How you didn't think that Hal could hear you, but he could still know what you're saying by reading your lip movements. That was pure genius. And the soundtrack, how they use classical music, that was perfect! Woo! That ending scene, my god, that blew me away, how you saw him try and go in the infinite, the colors and everything. To me, it is one of the best sci-fi films. This would be my number 1, but there is one film that is better than this in my opinion. But still, regardless, this is, like I said before, this is a true science fiction film that still has managed to be stayed grounded in reality because of everything. I'm just gonna say this, you're not a science fiction fan until you've seen A Space Odyssey.
It's number 1.
Okay, Austin, I'm pretty sure you and me have the same number 1.
Okay.
When you look at sci-fi films as a whole, this easily screams sci-fi. This is the personification of sci-fi. Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope.
It's now my number 1.
Damn it.
All right.
I'm alone. The very first Star Wars movie. The character development in this movie was just unbelievable. The fact that Luke's they died, right?
Yeah, his uncle and aunt.
Was Uncle and
Aunt also died.
Uncle Owen!
But yeah, the fact that he's alone, he finds Obi-Wan and he teaches him the Force.
Yes.
And he meets Han Solo and Chewbacca
And Princess Leia.
And Princess Leia, who turned
The classic Save the Princess!
the scene with the Death Star.
Oh,
That scene, I swear, I'd never seen anything like that before. I probably
I will
will
admit, that
never
gave
see
me
anything like
goosebumps
that
when
again.
the score went also when the
Yeah.
laser came out. That gave me goosebumps.
I actually have that score on vinyl. The lightsaber battle between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan, you just had a feeling that there was something between those two.
Yeah, you had the feeling that something was gonna happen. Yeah.
And no, something between those two, like his past history.
Oh, right.
Like this movie, I pretty much said it about my past 5. This movie is a masterpiece from beginning to end. It basically screams sci-fi madness. That's why it's my number 1.
My number 1 should be obvious because I basically just agreed with his number 2.
Holy fucking shit!
It has
really?
to be. It has to be this. It has to be 2001. I mean, it has to be that because it's probably the most down-to-earth sci-fi movie you will ever see. Because a lot of evolution themes.
Yes.
In that, I mean, from the dawn of man to what the future will possibly be like. So HAL 9000, we created him.
Yeah.
We created him. Our intelligence basically created a machine that wants to wipe out civilization because we're not worthy of being on the planet because we haven't evolved to a certain point where we're just as intelligent as him.
Something tells me how pretty much foreshadowed Skynet and Terminator.
Yeah, a lot of sci-fi villains, those intelligent ones, they basically want to wipe out people that are less than them. Like you said, soundtrack-wise, I mean, one of the most memorable soundtracks ever.
Yeah.
I mean, and just the fact that there was very minimal dialogue in it. I mean, sometimes you don't even need words to explain emotions like that. I mean, sci-fi, I've always known something about sci-fi. You need music. You absolutely need music to capture the tone of what your setting is.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily need dialogue. I mean, you can explain a situation in every conceivable way with the way your shots look and the way how your actors feel in that situation. It's something that is not done much anymore. A lot of memorable guys like George Lucas and Spielberg. I mean, they have said in a documentary about Stanley Kubrick in 2001. I mean, they were like 2 separate documentaries.
Yeah.
They have explained that him doing this movie is what influenced them to be where they wanted to be today. I mean, their project started off because
J.J. Abrams was probably influenced
Kubrick,
by
and
it.
probably. I mean, anybody that's getting into sci-fi. When I say Metropolis is the father of sci-fi, which it is, because that's how it
This
started.
is more of the Godfather.
This is more like his son. This is like the perfect son that he had. 2001, perfect, and you can't even.
It's absolute masterpiece.
What can I say? I can't even say more. Go.
My number 1, this is of course a Star Wars film. A Star Wars film had to be on this list. This is my favorite Star Wars film. Calling this the best Star Wars film, that's not even giving it justice. Calling this one of the best films of all time, that is giving justice. This is Empire Strikes Back.
Episode 5.
In other words, this is my favorite.
How is that 5? That's not 5.
Yeah,
This is 5. The fuck are you doing? That's more like the Star Trek Live Long and Prosper symbol. The fuck are you doing?
Yeah, you can't do
Star Trek at all.
You can't do Star Trek when you're talking about Star Wars.
Not only is this my favorite Star Wars film, this is my favorite sequel of all time. And this is how a sequel should be. Characters are developed better. It's darker. The special effects are improved. Better direction than George Lucas who created the fucking series. The climatic fights in between Luke and Vader is just, everything was done perfectly. Of course, the plot twist, I don't have to say it again unless Lucas was here. Literally. By the way, fun fact, Irving Kirchner was one of George Lucas's college professors.
Yeah?
It's just a fun fact, yes. And George Lucas handpicked him to do it. Empire Strikes Back is one of my favorite films of all time. It's my favorite Star Wars film. It's my favorite sequel of all time. If you have not seen a single Star Wars film, the originals at least, watch them. And that's why it's my number 1. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for. Every single top 5 we do these. And of course, it is time for... the shit stains of science fiction films.
We should know what it is, and if it's not, I'll say something.
Honestly, picking a shit stain for sci-fi films was very, very tough.
Same for
because
me.
there are so many bad ones.
Same for me.
From Troll 2 to Howard the Duck. From The Adventures of Pluto Nash to Plan 9 from Outer Space. From Monos the Hands of Fate to Birdemic Shock and Terror. There are so many bad ones, but in my eyes, and hopefully your guys' too, and I know a lot of people out there are going to agree with me on this, my shit stain is Battlefield Earth.
Yes! We got this! I knew it! You got something right once! Fucking once!
Battlefield
I actually haven't seen the entire film, so it's not on mine. So.
Let me just say this. It's a book-to-film adaptation.
Scientology! That's how John Travolta got the whole thing fucking started!
Yeah, exactly.
Just that alone!
Really Battlefield started at all?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
L. Ron Hubbard and then John Travolta saw it and said, hey, let's make this into a thing!
I'm proud to say I haven't seen it, so...
Thank your lucky stars. This movie was fucking terrible. So you can agree with me. The whole movie was... It was like...
It's like
sideways
sideways
the entire time.
Sideways. Every single thing. Sideways. Wait, what was it called?
Dutch angles.
Dutch angle. Dutch angle here. Dutch angle here.
You can't, it's not just that. It's not how you do good cinematography.
No.
You can't just, it's like me doing close-ups in every single scene.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Stupid.
It's like Travolta. Your career was going so well, and then you did this.
This was pretty much the lowest of the low points.
Oh god, and even the plot doesn't. Just like the whole setting, it's like, it's like a lot of stuff would just blow your mind, man.
Yeah, this makes no freaking sense at all.
It didn't. It really was like, I was like, I read a recap of it, and then the movie, and just the way that people explained it to me is just. Yeah. Bad. And not only is it bad, it's the worst movie of all time.
All time.
Really?
Not just sci-fi, of all time.
All time.
Wow.
Time.
I'm glad I haven't seen it.
If you ever wanted to know how to not make a film, this is a prime example.
Perfect.
Prime example, and this is something that you have to learn how to write. I mean, when you make scripts, you gotta learn how to write. This is a good example of learning from a movie about how bad the writing is and how bad acting is. I mean, everything. I mean, if you need to know everything. If any of you out there want to be producer, director,
it's abysmal. It's a freaking abortion of movies.
Yeah, and this is L. Ron Hubbard style type writing. This is the guy that invented Scientology.
Exactly. I don't even want to talk about this anymore.
Tom Cruise, you need to get out of the closet.
Mine will look like a masterpiece compared to your guys' worst.
Probably. Well, it depends.
Like one of Alex's top fives, this is also a film based on a video game. This franchise, I'm a huge fan of, but just the way it was done. This is the first sequel to that franchise. I fucking hate this film. Well, actually, no, the first time I saw it, it wasn't that bad to me. I was a kid when I first saw it. But then watching it again, I was like, but anyway, if you haven't noticed, it's one of the Resident Evil films. Oh. And this is the sequel, Resident Evil Apocalypse. Oh my fucking word.
Oh, I didn't know Resident Evil's classified as sci-fi.
It's in the dystopia, so science fiction dystopia. Yeah. It takes place, in the near future when the zombies. It's a zombie apocalypse, so yeah. This was done by a different director, Alexander Witt, I think his name is. And this guy he's more of a second unit director, but just the way how he did it, my God, it was it was terrible. I mean, how the zombies move, how the fight scenes were done. Jesus, it was all the camera was all static and shit, the footage was all static, the zombies were going dunk, dunk, dunk. It was how the zombies would move around, it was just fucking stupid as can be. Only thing they got right was Nemesis, the only thing they got right, because he looked exactly like the video game, which I was like, okay, props to you, but does that make up for a shitty video game-based movie? Fuck. No, it does not. Mila Jovovich, you may be not hard to look at all. You may be one gorgeous looking babe. You still suck at acting. Just how everything is done, the writing is terrible. The special effects, my God. It was just awful. And the graveyard scene, if I remember correctly, it was gone. And just like how Alice gets these fucking powers from the T-virus, I was like, are you... What? This was supposed to take work from Resident Evil 3 and 2. Take one at a fucking time! This is to me the worst Resident Evil film out there. This isn't even kind of a shit stain after you guys said Battlefield Earth. My God. Yeah. But anyway, Resident Evil Apocalypse is probably the worst sci-fi film. This was hard for me to decide because I could have gone with so many others. I could have gone with one of the Star Wars prequels, but to me, as much as Star Wars did damage to me, the prequels did not until I later saw them. Resident Evil, the films, did so much more damage to my childhood.
You could have gone with a lot of movies.
Oh, I could have gone with a lot of it. To me, Resident Evil, fuck you, Paul S. Anderson, for even writing these shitty-ass films. And that's why it is my shit stain. Anyway, those are top 5 sci-fi films, the honorable mentions, and of course the shit stains as usual. But anyway, thank you both of you for joining in this big video.
And thank you, Alex, for not saying anything ridiculous like in last month.
Anyways, until the next top 5 video, we will see you guys next time.
To infinity and beyond.
Live long and prosper?
Oh, seriously, do it. Do it. Do it.